Dune Awakening is a survival game set in the world of Dune, in an alternate timeline where Paul Atreides was never born.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
As he is one of my favorite characters in science fiction, I decided to create him myself.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
In an attempt to play this game as lore accurately as I can. Which isn't the easiest, as while the game does a good job in general, and stays mostly true to Frank Herbert's writing, it bends the lore quite frequently. Be it the abundance of fully automatic weapons in a fast-paced combat, or the fact that you can just talk to an NPC and get a Bene Gesserit training speedrun as a male character. Let's just say the game takes some liberties in favor of gameplay and accessibility, understandably so. But that will not stop me from creating the ultimate twink and becoming the Lisan al-Gaib.
Listen, al-Gaib!
I did this before with the Harkonnen character based on Fade Rautha, but it was high time to show the Atreides some love as well. So buckle up as I attempt to take over Arrakis, destroy House Harkonnen, and bring paradise to the Fremen as Paul Muad'Dib Atreides. Quick disclaimer, my choices, playstyle and loadout in this run was inspired by Frank Herbert's novels, while taking some visual inspiration from Denis Villeneuve's movies as well. So, if you're interested in Dune lore and videos like this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Paul is the protagonist of the first two Dune novels, and unlike Fade Rautha, who was the inspiration for my previous lore-accurate character, we know everything about Paul. We know his abilities, his principles, his motives, even his taste in women. So, in a way this run will be much tighter, with a lot less leeway and freedom of interpretation. Whenever we do a quest and have to make a choice, we will ask ourselves what would Paul do and proceed accordingly. But I'm getting ahead of myself a bit, so let's actually make the character. Paul is 15 years old at the start of Dune and is described with black hair and green eyes, which were easy to replicate, but I also tried to throw in some Timothy in the pot as well. And the result was a kind of bogged buffer version of him, as you can't really create a child. Good enough for me. Obviously, I chose Caladan nobility as his background, and we are off to skills where I wound up choosing Bene Gesserit. And voila, the Lisan Crow Gaib was born. Our main mission is to find the Fremen.
Find the Fremen.
Who are nearly extinct, and just like that we are dropped into the sandpits of Arrakis. Paul was a unique exception in Dune lore, being a male Bene Gesserit. He was trained from childhood by his mother in the ways of the Sisterhood, which gave him, among many, the ability to use the voice, which we can use in-game in a highly exaggerated fashion. Paul was also trained as a mentat, basically making him a human computer. Since the game allows only one starting class, for now we'll use Bene Gesserit, as it's not really possible to replicate the voice without the skills in-game, but we can strategize and pretend Paul is a mentat as well, until we find the trainer. Paul was also trained by masters like Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, two of the best swordsmen in Dune lore, so Swordmaster would be a fitting starting class as well. But again, we can just use swords and win duels in-game until we find the trainer for specific skills. And right off the bat we kind of have to make a concession, as the tutorial and the whole gameplay loop involves a lot of killing. Don't get me wrong, Paul led a holy war, resulting in more bloodshed than you can imagine. He's far from innocent. But he was absolutely devastated by his first kill, Jamis. As I can't replicate this in-game, let's just say this is a post-Jamis version of Paul, who is a bit more accustomed to guerrilla warfare. Anyway, Zentara, my almost Fremen friend in-game, guides me to a cave, where my first chance arises to snort up spice and dream about Fremen lore.
On Harmantep, we were made to suffer. Our children taken and made slaves. They denied us the Hajj. Never to forgive, never to forget.
While very cinematic, not very useful, so I set up my humble base next to Griffin's Reach trade post and start doing contracts to get some useful gear to make my life easier. This is where I meet the trooper trainer, but since he is an absolute asshole to us and is surrounded by giant Harkonnen flags, an obvious red flag, asking me to kill some random people I don't know. There's no way in hell Paul would work with this guy and accept his training, so this run will be no trooper skills, no nades, no grapple hooks. This might make my life much harder, but who said being the Lisan al-Gaib would be easy? Paul immersed himself in the planet's ecology and the culture of the Fremen, the natives, when he came to Arrakis. His understanding of their customs and values allowed him to integrate into their society and lead them as a messianic figure. Thus, my initial strategy in-game is to learn about the Fremen, meaning follow the main quest, learn planetology, and align myself with House Atreides as fast as I can to pilot a Paul-accurate character. The first step in my grand plan is meeting Derek, a planetologist, and since I'm dying to learn more about Arrakis, I gladly accept his contract to gather vials from an overrun laboratory in exchange for his teachings. But first, a humble shipwreck to gear up for the fight, which is the first real test of my combat skills.
There's my reinforcements!
My reward is a very practical knife that steals enemy blood. I think I'm ready to venture into the first testing station now. While the greenery is fascinating, the station is full of poor lunatics who keep attacking me, so I have to regretfully put them out of their misery. I find Derek's vials, plunder some loot and hydrate. And before you know it, I'm well versed in Arrakis geology and on my way into the Vermilius Gap, dodging sandworms and looking for my first Atreides connection. He's not hard to find, as Anton is on the verge of blessing the ground with Harkonnen blood when I step into the Envil trade post. But he's unfortunately stopped. Hopefully I can help him next time. After exchanging some pleasantries about honor, he gives me a task to find the missing Atreides agent in the region.
Find the agent.
So, I set up my next base, which will be a more long-lasting base of operations, and venture out to rescue my Atreides brother. Unfortunately, it's the worst possible outcome. I only find his body, as he was intercepted and his position was revealed. But I take his manifest to Anton, who agrees to a long-lasting cooperation.
Generally, I'm slow to trust. However, I have a good feeling about the way you comport yourself.
Gives me my next task, and I'm starting to be affiliated with my house finally. The Vermilius Gap is a much bigger area than where I started, but that doesn't sway me from investigating the Fremen, which takes me to another drugged-up vision, this time about sand compactors. As the Kwisatz Haderach prophesied superhuman, Paul gained prescient visions throughout his exposure to the spice melange. He could see possible futures, enabling him to anticipate events and make decisions to shape outcomes. However, his foresight burdened him with the weight of foreseeing the catastrophic consequences of his actions, such as the holy war unleashed in his name. Through my immersion into planetology, I'm starting to become quite familiar with the desert, which shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm making great use of shields, clearing camps like it's nothing. Using my mentat skills and the humble binocular, I assess larger camps and methodically take out scavengers in search of stronger gear.
They fly now?
Who's there? Found them! I need backup!
I started to set up a very efficient early game base with multiple purifiers, refineries, and plenty of space for some vehicles in the future. My search of the Fremen is bringing me closer and closer to disturbing visions of the Golden Path, as we are very close to reaching a prescient state, at least a baby version of it. But that will have to be part of the next episode, where we will withstand gladiator trials, go undercover in a Harkonnen stronghold to sharpen my mentat skills, and visit Arrakeen and further strengthen my allegiance to the House of Honor. All of that and so much more is coming, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't miss it. You can also tell me which character you would like to see next on this channel, from the Dune universe, in the comments below. In the meantime, why don't you check out a very different approach in the first episode of my lore-accurate Harkonnen run, based on the ruthless psycho Feyd Rautha. I had a ton of fun with this one, and I'd definitely be back, so see you soon.